Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the ad-free shows and podcast Heat Networks alongside Wrestling According to Alba.com. I'm John Alba. That right there, that's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. What's going on, my man?
Been a long day. We're taping this a little later, the night before. It is what it is, but we get it done, man. We get it done. We know those people are ready at 6 a.m. every single Friday morning. They are ready. They are ready to consume our content, and we're here for it. So, yeah, just finishing up the day. Wife is a little ill today. She's we've labeled her as enfeebled and kept her in bed. She's been sitting there. I just took all the kids up to the jiu-jitsu lesson, and we talked about I always ask, where do you guys want to eat? So usually we'll do a vote. If everybody has different places, we'll do a vote and decide. So today, of all places, they chose Waffle House. And I think it was because we were talking about Waffle House when we were driving home from Winston-Salem this last weekend, because we passed a lot and we saw Waffle Houses and they got super excited they're open 24 hours for some reason. That was a big thing for them. So we went to Waffle House. We all sat at the bar in the high chairs and whatnot, and they felt like big people. And it's funny, Barty said, oh my God, now that the sushi place is closing, which is Red Lobster, a lot of the Red Lobsters are closing. He said, now that the sushi place is closing, and he meant Red Lobster because he had popcorn shrimp and for some reason confused it for sushi, which he likes sushi as well. He said, now that it's closing, he said, we should come here and eat every other day or so.
Oh, okay.
Very funny statement.
Well, it's kind of fun because Waffle House is so embedded in pro wrestling culture.
It is.
That now the Hardy Boys of the future, V2, are going to have to get ingrained into the customs that come with hitting the road. But, unlike P.S. Hayes, there's no bar at the Waffle House. There is a physical bar to sit at, but not a bar where you can purchase alcohol.
I'll tell you right now, these little motherfuckers are going to be okay without a bar for a long time. I can promise you that. I'm going to make sure that they will not be at the bar, wanting to go to the bar when they're young. They're gonna grow up before they start getting anywhere near a bar. That's
good. They got to have their tag team ladder match victory first before they can have their first beer ever.
They at least have to let all their organs mature.
That's fair.
At least
That's more than fair before they can become delinquents. Understood. Well, it's great to see that you guys had some fun. I know Chili's is usually a very popular place for you too. So
it is.
Didn't indulge in Chili's this time around. What was the popular Waffle House order?
The popular waffle, 2 out of the 3 got it. So Maxwell always looks on the big menu now, right? So Maxwell orders adult food. He's a big steak guy. He loves a sirloin steak. The other day we went and ate, and this was after we left the Polar Express. We found a restaurant that stayed open. It had 30 more minutes, but they served us, and we were able to get in there, and I got the filet. And it was a local place, real nice. They had good food. And Maxwell ordered a sirloin, which was the same as the filet. I got an 8-ounce filet, ordered an 8-ounce sirloin, but they accidentally brought him a filet. And he said, oh, this doesn't like my normal. This looks like yours, Dada. And I tried it, and I was like, oh, it's very soft meat. I said, it's definitely a filet. So Maxwell ate a filet, and he ate all of it. And he dug it the most. So he might be spoiled. He might try and order the filet now every time we get into a restaurant that has steak. But it is what it is. So the order that was predominant at the Waffle House was the kids' waffle with the side of meat, and that's both what Wolfie and Marty got, and then I got them a side of eggs to go with it.
Okay, listen, I'm all about that mature steak taste. Rumor and innuendo has it that you might see some steak content coming soon to the Extreme Life
very soon, within this week, while this podcast is living, it is living on our channel. Very soon.
Be on the lookout for that. Very, very excited to bring you something super unique and extreme on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Hey, it was great seeing you and most of the family at WrestleCade this past weekend. We did our live show, The Tales of the Tag Teams, which was followed by a Brother Nero concert. Shocking. You guys signed for 8 hours. And it was totally packed. The Hardys were the biggest draw of WrestleCade yet again. Hell of a weekend, though. What did you think of your WrestleCade experience?
It was fun. Really enjoyed the TNA Turning Point event, which was on Friday night. Just to share a little insight into this, too. So we found out as he was traveling to the event earlier that day, Trey Miguel was involved in an accident as he was going. He's okay, but they wanted to hold him back a little bit. He was all right. He just had travel issues. Obviously, that's kind of what we ended up classifying it as, travel issues. And he is okay, but he wasn't going to wrestle that night because he couldn't get in, whatever else. So we found a last second replacement, and that ended up being Matt Riddle. And we were the 5th match on the show. And Matt Riddle, the show started at 7:00. He was signing at WrestleCade. He didn't walk in until about 7:20, 7:25, and there were like 2 matches, and he was going to change and get ready and do his thing. And then we were going to rush out and have the match, and we did. And actually, a lot of people were really complimentary of the match the next day. So it was very, very cool that they were able to get him very short notice as a replacement. And it was also very, very cool that we didn't have very much time to like think about this match or think things through. We just kind of went out there and did it.
So what happens in situations like that? How do you go about putting the match together?
Even when we did this, we kind of put something together, and we laid out different portions for whatever Matt wants to do there, and then he kind of inserts it. But I mean, it was one of those things coming together real quick. If anybody watched the show, you will notice that it's a while before I come out at the beginning. The Hardy Boys music starts playing, and it's a beat. It's like 4 or 5 seconds. Then Jeff comes out, and then it's like 4 or 5 more seconds. And then I come out. So we actually went back to Gorilla. We all went up to Gorilla to kind of like try and have a lock on what we were thinking about doing in the ring. And they're like, okay, well, here we go. Hardys are getting ready to go. And I'm like, okay, we're ready. And like, we're sitting there and the music hits and I go, shit, my belt is over there because I just came up here to do this. So I had to run back and get the belt and run out. And that's why I came out with the belt on my shoulder. Just so everybody knows, like we were like all rushing around frantically. Right. And we got there and we're doing this like, shit, I don't have the belt. Went and got it. Boom, out to the ring. And we got it done, man. We got it done.
To be fair, Jeff could have just stood at the entrance and juked for 10 minutes and people would have been fine.
Yeah, he could have. And I told Jeff, I said, man, you should have waited. I would have been back in 5 more seconds. Like if you could have waited just because, you know, it builds a little anticipation sometimes when the people have to wait, when they hear that music. I remember there's times where we've had an entrance where they expect, especially when we first came back to WWE, they said like, wait a while, give them like 7 or 8 seconds before you go out there. Like let it build anticipation before you appear in front of the crowd. And that's why it was my bad because I actually didn't walk up with my title. I just had it sitting around on top of my bag. And then I ran back and got it. But I'm going to chalk it up to, it was a time we should have like built anticipation before a big pop at WrestleMania.
There you go. It was Jeff's fault.
No, it's not Jeff's fault. It's my fault.
He jumped the gun. That's what it was.
It was. He did go early. He could have waited.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, okay. Well, I'm sure everything was great. I had an awesome time doing the live show, the Tales of the Tag Team show. People were super into those stories.
Oh, it was a blast.
We got to hear some stories from you, too, that you haven't told on the podcast. So hopefully one day you get to share those here. But we're not going to spill the beans on what some of those were. But I thought they were great. Super fun time. The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy hits the road. You want to be there. And we're going to be hitting the road in 2025. We've got some shows already in the process of being lined up. You don't want to miss these things, especially when we get Jeff involved and he's on the back end doing the concerts. They are such awesome events. It really felt like a celebration of the Hardys, man.
It did. And you know, one of those things, you know, one of the biggest metrics kind of people go by in the business is whether like, you know, like attendance is increasing or your numbers are increasing or ratings increasing, whatever, or ratings, are they increasing or decreasing, or your numbers in-house increasing or decreasing. That was our biggest house ever at a WrestleCade. So that was a positive. You know, momentum is swinging the way right now.
That's awesome. I know Bully Ray came up to you guys or texted you after, right?
Yes. He texted me and tweeted me after whenever we did that signing. He was pretty impressed with the extent of our line and how we were just up and at it the whole day. Neither one of us went to the bathroom, I think, the whole while. It was 7 hours and change.
We had some fun because after the signing, you and I went and got some food. And you could talk about this. You talked about it at our live show, but yeah, we're in Hardy country. You know, the Hardys, again, are some of the biggest celebrities to ever come out of North Carolina. I mean, within seconds of us being out, Matt, you had some pretty funny encounters. Yeah,
it was. I had a couple tonight. You know, I have them every day. Like, you know, and I say that, and I think people think I'm exaggerating, but it is like it's an everyday occurrence. It was so funny. So I'm not very familiar with restaurants in Winston-Salem. I know like some of the franchise places that are around there. You gotta watch out,
baby running.
You're naked.
Oh, we can't have that.
Go watch your TV, okay? I'm doing the podcast.
I'm going to get undies.
Okay, go get undies. That's fine. And then go watch Minions. And then go watch Minions, okay?
Oh, Minions. That's the good stuff.
Get the meat.
Okay, well, okay, go watch Minions. Life. Okay, go watch Minions, okay?
When
shh.
When I got to the signing, I see Evie, Gothic Baby, and Rebby and Barty, and I go up and I say, "Hi, Evie, give me a hug." And she hugs me and she goes, "I know you. Sit down." And I said, "Oh, she spends a lot of time with her mother. There's no doubt about that."
Yeah.
So anyway, you were saying we were finding restaurants.
Yes, we were looking for restaurants, and I found a place that was a barbecue place. It had pretty good reviews, looked pretty decent. I scrolled through a couple of things there on it, and we went over to it. And for what it was worth, my food was good. Did you like yours, John?
I did. I liked mine quite a bit.
Yeah, and my food was good, but it was so funny. We found a parking spot, right? It was kind of in a unique place where it's a smaller parking lot, but we found a parking spot, got in there. We go in, there's two doors, right? We go through the first door, and as soon as we walk in, there's someone coming out of the first door, and they look at me and they go, "Hold up, your face looks familiar. Your face looks familiar." And are you who I think you are? And I've had this happen 10,000 times in my life. And I go, probably. I said, I probably am. And then they go, "Are you Matt Hardy?" And I go, "Guilty as charged. You got me busted." and sit there for a second, take a picture, whatever. And, we go in the restaurant, get one more before we sit down. And then there's a couple people, you see the looks when they go by or whatever. And I think I went to the bathroom and we did maybe 3 more at the end before I left. So wild. Even tonight, after we ate at the Waffle House, I had an order put in at the Indian place, and I got my wife the hot food. She loves things Indian hot. She likes it super spicy, and she says it's good for her when she's feeling under the weather. And obviously, I go in there, and the Indian people, they all know me, and they're like all excited. When I said, "Oh, this guy, he's a new employee. He wants to take a picture with you," and we did that. And then a dude came in, a black dude who said he was from Goldsboro. He said, "Man, I was at Fayetteville. Oh my God, this is so cool. I can't believe I met you here. I'm just passing through town, and can I snap a photo, man?" And it's just it's wild, but it is like just being able to have my face on TV and social media for a quarter of a century. You become kind of noticeable, especially because I'm older, obviously, but I mean, I still look similar as I did back in the day when I was a little younger.
I was just saying, it was so funny because the hostess, when we went up there, she's like looking at you and she's like, "Are you who I think you are?" And she's like, "Nah, you're not." And then we just sat down. And I'm like, man, this poor girl is going to regret it for the rest of her life if she doesn't get a chance to actually say hi. So when you went to the restaurant, she's like, "Is that really him?" I was like, "Yeah, that's him." So it's pretty fun to see that happen. I will say, just be respectful is what it boils down to. Like, one thing I really didn't like, you guys signed for 7 hours and people pay their good hard-earned money for those autographs and those pictures and everything. And then we're walking to the venue and people who were at the convention are then trying to stop you for free pictures. And I don't like when people don't play by the rules like that,
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things, especially in public. I know sometimes people are like, "Well, I don't want to bother people," or there's some people who are, wrestlers or actors or singers and musicians or whatever it may be, famous for some reason. Where they don't want to be bothered, and they go like, "No, I'm not on the clock. I'm not taking photos or signing autographs or whatever else." And just like, dude, it doesn't bother me as long as people are cool, as long as they're respectful. If I'm eating somewhere, if they just wait to the end of my meal, whatever, I'm always cool. I will always shake a hand or take a picture or sign an autograph because that's just who I am. Like when I was small and young, and myself and Jeff became big fans of pro wrestling, like I wanted to make it. I wanted to have people that were fans that gave a shit about me, that like would want to take a picture with me or whatever else. So it's like that's one thing that has never left me, that has never walked away from my mind. Like I'm always cool with that, and I'm always down with that. And I find it, in honesty, I find it very flattering in many, many ways that people still want to, especially after all this time.
Well, it was a great time. It was hellacious travel for me, but I was glad we did it. And we're super, super excited to do our next show whenever that does happen in the near future. A few things to hit on before we get into our episode, which is all about December to Dismember 2006. This week, The New Day Boy, howdy, Matt Hardy. That segment did not go the way that you and I had an inkling that it might go on Raw. Big E did make his return. We kind of had a feeling that the New Day would break up, but instead, quite the opposite. Instead, the New Day banishes Big E with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston turning heel and really giving it to Big E for not being there for them despite him having a broken neck. This was a very emotional segment and one that got a lot of chatter. What do you think of this New Day 10-year celebration?
I thought it was an excellent. I thought it was an excellent segment. I thought the emotion was so strong and so powerful, and really evoked feelings in anyone. I mean, because I watched back the video package right before that. As I was watching that, I watched that while I was working out and doing cardio, and they put together such a tremendous video package to remind people of how much of a force the New Day has been, how important and how substantial and how powerful of an entity they have been in WWE for a decade, right? And not only have they been multi-time tag team champions, you know, you had Kofi as the world champion, you had Big E as the world champion, you know, Xavier was the king of the ring. They have all had these amazing individual achievements placed upon them as well. And you watch this package and you're like, man, I this makes me remember why I love these guys so much. They just bust their ass. They work so hard, and they overcame this crazy stigma they originally had in the beginning of, you know, being a gimmick that wasn't supposed to get huge, wasn't supposed to thrive, and they made it work, right? So I watched this package back, and then I watched the segment, and you see the build up already between Kofi and Xavier. And then they come down to the ring. Big E comes back, and then once they lock it in, and especially Kofi, because I feel like Kofi is like a Jeff Hardy. He is like a Ricky Steamboat. He is the eternally beloved babyface figure, and I love Kofi for that. Kofi is he is an awesome dude. He's an amazing dude. I love him so much. I actually miss being around him and being able to chat with him and stuff. But Kofi, a great guy, and for him to really turn it up to the max, you know, on, you know, letting go of his fear of being an asshole and really being a dick in this situation where there's all this sympathy on Big E, and they're talking about, no, you had a broken neck, other people came back, but you didn't even come back to help us when you could have. And, you know, it's just a ton of sympathy on him. And that segment was so important, and it was so big, and so many people were talking about it, and so many people are invested in it. It's one of those things where it's a very friendly reminder, or a stark reminder too, of how important that is in the entertainment business known as pro wrestling. And segments like that are often more important and more consequential than a 5-star match or 6-star, 7-star, whatever absurdity you end up wrestling, whatever is considered the perfect match. Because at the end of the day, pro wrestling is not all about the wrestling. I mean, that's great when the wrestling is really good, but also what is important is people being emotionally invested in characters and their story and what they're doing. And that start with the New Day, if it's followed up on correctly, can be huge.
Now, to be fair, it is somewhat of an outlier in the sense that they've had 10 years of build to this segment. So the stakes are elevated to a level that almost no one can replicate. But when
But
that
still,
is the
I mean,
case,
I'm still
well,
going
they
there
stuck
and
the
doing that.
landing. They stuck the
Yeah.
landing, and that's important.
No doubt.
Let me ask you this: Do you think Big E is actually going to get cleared here?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would imagine the reason they decided to go here is because he is going to get cleared.
Well, because you could go two ways with it. You could say naturally he's going to get cleared and he's going to overcome the odds, and they're going to build a big baby face at him. Or they said we got to deal with the circumstances that we have, and if he's not going to be returning, well, what better way to get these guys nuclear hot as heels than get that sympathy on Big E? Because I could see it going either way there.
I do too. The biggest thing to me that was a telltale sign is when he said, like, admit it, you know, you are never going to be cleared. That was the biggest thing to me. It's like, just even they decided to reference that seems like it was put in there specifically.
You think that was too heavy-handed
for a reason? I feel like that was one of those things, like even mentioning that was to put sympathy on him, which they did a great job in doing. I mean, the crowd at the end of it organically was chanting like, Big E rocks, Big E rocks, Big E rocks, you know what I mean? And that was the whole goal. And it does, because it's like a real dickhead move, because you're now calling him, not only is he a man who broke his neck, but now he's like, he's too weak, he's too soft to even come back for it. Where we named all these other guys. This guy came back, this guy came back, this guy came back, this guy came back, but you will never ever come back. You will never ever be cleared. I mean, it was great for building sympathy and making people feel bad for him.
Let's think. They turned on their tag partners without having to burn down any houses or anything of that nature. Amazing.
They did it the best way possible. It's so, that segment served as not really being able to tell. It blurred the lines between reality and fiction so well, because you don't know, like, is he going to come back? Is he not going to come back? Who knows? You know, my guess is that he is. They do expect him to be cleared, and they do expect him to come back. That would be my guess. That's what my pro wrestling logic tells.
Yeah, Phil, one of our Wrestling According to Alba patrons, says maybe he is already cleared, and that is totally plausible that he could be cleared. We got a Gothic baby running, huh?
There we go. Say hi, wave, Evie, wave.
He's on the
Say
other
hi
side.
to everybody.
Hi, Evie.
Hi.
Hi.
You want to say hello? Say hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right.
Is Evie going to pony up a new suit for getting some marker on my blazer this week? Is Big Money Evie going to come through here?
Hey, Evie, you took a magic marker and put it on John's suit. Do you know that? You do? Did you do it on purpose? You did? Do you know his suit's ruined? He had to throw it out. He had to throw it in the garbage. Do you feel bad? You feel bad?
You do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. All right.
I was going to say, she is her mother's daughter.
She is. Yes. All right. All right. Well, Evie, tell everybody bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Here,
Bye,
get down.
Evie.
No, we can't jump. Too dangerous. All right. Go upstairs with your brothers.
She's got the Hardy blood in her. She wants to jump. It's natural.
Oh, my God. No, she does.
Matt, you live a very extreme lifestyle, and it can be hard to find premium products, especially when it comes to clothes that fit right, but they're versatile enough to allow you to travel, to run around with the kids, and to look good out there with your wife. Have you find yourself struggling with that?
Well, I used to, but that was before I discovered True Classic. And now that I've been turned on to True Classic, that's almost all I wear. Actually, I rock True Classic every day for the last 4 or 5 different days, and they're all in the wash right now. And I got to tell you, they make me look great, because they make my chest look nice. They fit my arms in the right way. I've got the guns popping out, and they make my waist look nice. So it is definitely someone that is now a little older and still embarking on this pro wrestling game. It makes me look great, and it really makes me top tier. I love some True Classic.
I love True Classic as well. I had been hearing about True Classic for years, and when we finally partnered up with them, I was absolutely stoked, because with our partnership with True Classic, you can find the best-selling t-shirts, hoodies, jeans, and more in 3, 6, and 9 packs. These are premium products. I cannot stress that enough. Premium products at an affordable price that will fit you in the right places. Let's be real, Matt. I'm 31, turning 32. You know this firsthand, but you're much more active than I am. But metabolism does slow down over the years, so you have to find ways to adjust. You can try to go to the gym as much as you can, but sometimes our bodies get the best of us. I'm experiencing that very transparently. And I've been looking for the right clothing, especially the right t-shirts to pair with blazers, much like the one that I wore on this edition of The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, that actually fit right in the perfect areas. So they look good around my arms. I did add a little bit of a belly over the years, so you have to find the right clothes that work their way around that, and I freaking love this product. And in the fall and the winter, True Classic has got you covered with their long sleeve Henleys, their waffle hoodies, their jeans, their button-ups, their joggers, and a whole lot more. And guess what, Matt Hardy? Right now, as we record this episode of The Extreme Life, I, in fact, am rocking my True Classic gray shirt. Look at that.
I noticed that as we were recording the episode. I noticed you looked very dapper, and I was guessing that was a True Classic, and you just confirmed it for me. Just gonna say, I love the hoodies as well. The hoodies are off the chart. They really do. They feel like a premium item.
Dude, I'm all about hoodie season. It's just so comfy this time of the year, and we want to hook you up with True Classic as well. The holidays are here, and True Classic's ultra comfortable, perfect fitting essentials make for the perfect gift for you and any of the men in your life. So if you're ready to upgrade your closet, shop now and unlock big savings during their huge holiday sale. Just go to my exclusive link and Matt Hardy's exclusive link at trueclassic.com/Hardy to save. That's trueclassic.com/Hardy. Please support our show, The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Tell them we sent you with the survey. End the year with holiday cheer thanks to True Classic. It's instinctive to the Hardys to want to jump off of things.
You open it, you
Oh,
pull it out.
goodness
You know
gracious.
better than that. Pull it open.
Goodness gracious.
Other one,
Oh,
other
boy.
door, other door. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. I love you. Yes. Thank you.
You never know what can happen in the extreme life of Matt Hardy.
Oh my God. Anything and everything happens here.
That's
It is
true.
Pure insanity always.
That's true. Anything else on your mind before we turn the page here and get towards our topic?
Let me see. What other hot news we got? Any other hot news circulating around?
Nothing too crazy this week, which is nice and refreshing, quite frankly. Yeah, Dynamite. I don't know how much you want to dig into it, but the number was low again. And
This week?
this week's Dynamite was
What
a low
was-
number, and
what was
we're
this?
dealing. Well, you saw the post from Brandon Thurston that I sent you.
Yes.
Dynamite now the last 13 lowest Dynamites in terms of the key demo viewership have all come in the last 6 months. And I'm not one to sit here and just bury people over ratings because there's always context involved with stuff. But it really does feel right now, Matt, that no matter what AEW is trying to do, the product is just feeling a little cold. And I do wonder what the solution is here because I don't know if it's a one size fits all fix. One size fits all fix, rather.
It was 586.
586. Okay.
586, yeah. It was 586 and NXT was 593.
Yeah, and listen, it's not going to matter soon with AEW moving to Max because you're going to lose tracking of a lot of that stuff. So make of it what you will. How much you actually care about the ratings? Do you? Do you not?
Yeah,
it's still the product is still a little cold right now, and
well, I think the biggest barometer is just like ticket sales. They do have some shows when they go in bigger markets and they have a bigger show and people have a lot of faith in them or whatever. But now they have decided to run smaller venues, which I think is a good move. It will actually make the product seem more energetic and more enthusiastic and more lively and whatnot. I think that the issue with AEW is just figure out what they have to look in the mirror and they have to go, what made us not as popular? We are, our popularity has lessened. Why is that?
yeah, and there could be a few answers to that. There might not be any true answers to it. It could be a culmination of a bunch of things. So finding the solution will be interesting. I don't want to get too in the weeds on that because that's something we spend a lot of time talking about here on the Extreme Life. And we have talked about it. ExtremeHardy.com is where you can find all that stuff. Let's not waste any more time, Matt Hardy. We're talking December to Dismember 2006. But before we can, please hit us with that Matt Fact.
Matt Fact. Matt has been to the North Pole.
Matt has been to the North Pole. Sounds like you got on a train this weekend and took a little ride there.
Well, I did, but kayfabe, brother. And if you get any kids that are little, like, cover their ears. We did that, the Polar Express, but I was thinking it's so funny because that's the whole gig that you go to the North Pole and do that whole deal. And it was fun. The kids had a great time doing it. And even they had questions about it. They were still suspicious that it was
a little sus.
The legit North Pole. Yeah. But in reality, I have actually been to the North Pole in Alaska, which there is a legitimate North Pole there. And I don't even know if you had realized that. And the story behind that is myself and Adam were riding together. Myself and Adam Copeland, we were traveling together that weekend. We were in Alaska. We were working a show in Fairbanks. We had done Anchorage, and now we're in Fairbanks, right? So we're making the drive, and we start driving, and we were there a little earlier. It's snowing like crazy. We are getting to Fairbanks, and we're looking for a coffee. We go a couple exits past it, and we finally find a McDonald's. We go in. and we're going to both get a coffee, right? Because it's very cold outside, and we were into some coffee right there. And myself and Edge, we walk in this McDonald's, and we're sitting there, and somebody said something, said, "Oh my God, the way it's snowing, blah, blah, blah. It looks like Santa's nearby." And Adam said, "Yeah, that'd be cool if Santa was here. It does look like, it looks very much like the North Pole." And no, I take that back. He says, "It does look like it's snowing." He said, "We just saw a sign outside saying the North Pole was, 8 miles away or whatever." And we did see that. There was a street sign which said North Pole 8 miles. And we're like, "Oh my God, that's cool." And they said, "Oh yeah, North Pole is there." And this was a white dude behind the counter that was serving us coffee. He said, "Yeah," he said, "the North Pole is there." He said, "Santa," he said, "that motherfucker lives up there. He lives up there. He got reindeer and shit." Which we said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Yeah, it's a Santa house. Santa, Chris Kringle, that motherfucker live up there, man." And me and Adam were like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, he does." And we were there early as well. We said, "Oh, cool, let's go by the Santa house." And then we drove the extra way up to the North Pole. We pulled in. We walked in. We found the place that was going on. Someone recognized us, and they carried us through. They knew that we were wrestling in the event in Fairbanks. Oh, look at this! I have a demand.
Someone's gonna end up on the naughty list if
I don't know.
Be careful there.
There you go. Don't be naughty. Go watch. Go to the couch and watch. And then we go there. Someone recognizes we're making our way to where Santa's lair is, and they go, "Oh my God, you guys are in town, right? It's so cool." And they take us in, and we're there, and Santa's in there. And we go through. We go, "Santa," and he goes, "Engine." And he says, "Engine Matt Hardy, what are you doing here?" And we said, "Santa, we're fans." He said, "I'm a fan too." We took a couple pictures with Santa, and he did. They had like reindeer there. They had like the whole deal, and we got a couple souvenirs and whatnot. And it was a wild place, but it was the North Pole, Alaska, and there's the Santa house there. If there's anyone on this podcast that has been to the North Pole in Alaska and they have been to the Santa house, please share it with me on social media.
I think one of the most amazing things about going to a game, a concert, an event, whatever it may be, is having that shared experience with the people around you. There's just nothing quite like it, honestly. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to that special event even easier than before. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I was just looking at New York Giants tickets. For some reason, I'd like to torture myself. And I clicked through the Game Time Picks selection. It's very easy. You open the app, you go to Game Time Picks, and right away popped up the super deal, which gave me $55 off lower bowl tickets. That is fantastic for an NFL game. All you have to do is select it. Your tickets pop right up. You can check out almost immediately, plus with a view from your seat to know exactly how good that view is going to be. And 1, 2, 3, you are there, headed to MetLife Stadium or whatever stadium you choose to go to attend whatever event you go to. Speaking of that view from your seat, I absolutely love the view from your seat feature because a lot of times you're going in blind when you're going to a show. Sometimes you've never been to the venue before. Sometimes the venue seating has changed from the last event you went to. So view from your seat allows you to get an actual picture of what is ahead and what you can look forward to when you arrive at your seat. And with their lowest price guarantee, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find pricing elsewhere that suits you better. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry with Game Time's ticket coverage. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Use the Game Time Picks, curation that makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and anything else. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code HARDY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code HARDY, that's HARDY, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And then he came down the chimney and he said, "Santa, I knew you'd come."
Yes.
Hey, as you mentioned, Sharon, I want to give a shout out. We got a bunch of messages and I want to see more of them because I know there's a ton of them. If the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy was on your Spotify Wrapped or your Apple Wrapped, whatever they call that, I forget. I'm a Spotify guy. Let us know. Send it to us on Twitter, X. Send it to us on Blue Sky, on Facebook, on Instagram. We want to see your posts. Tag us at Matt Hardy Pod, at Matt Hardy Brand, at John Alba, because it's pretty cool that out of all the hours you dedicated listening to podcasts this year, we made your top 5, and we're very much appreciative of that, aren't we, Matt?
Very cool. We are extremely grateful for your support. And I had a lot of people that came through my line at WrestleCade. You know, that happens a lot of those guys. Just, oh my God, you know, I listen to your, pod every single week. And you met someone you never met the guy before, right? He listened to your old podcast, and now he listens to Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Cool.
Yeah, that was really cool because I had a podcast before I started working with you. I had it for 6 years called Living the Gimmick. And he came up to me. He was in line for you guys. And he came up to me and he's like, dude, I've been like day one LTG fan. Then I switched over to the Extreme Life. I was like, that's sick. So I'm really appreciative of that. I know you're appreciative of anyone. If you ever meet the Hardys and you get a chance to talk to them, go ahead and tell them to listen to the Extreme Life. And you might even get you might get an extra 30 seconds or so of Matt Hardy. I might buy you some time. So that's great stuff. Please let us know, though, if we are in your app, send it our way, and we'll make sure we share those. So thank you for all your support in 2024 as we turn the page to 2025, which will be our, goodness gracious, that will be our 4th calendar year of doing this podcast. So that is nuts, my friend. Crazy how time has gone. Okay, let's talk December to Dismember 2006. We're approaching the 18-year anniversary of this event. We talked a little bit about it on our ECW episode, which is in the archives, but we're going to watch the match between you and Eminem on the show. That is a very random match, but a very good match on this really bad show. So let's catch up to speed at what ECW was at the time. You guys back in the day, late 90s, almost went to ECW. Instead, you signed with WWF full time. And in 2005, Vince McMahon runs the One Night Stand pay-per-view for the first time at the Hammerstein Ballroom. And it's a massive success. You're not on the show, even though you're referenced by Paul Heyman on the show. What do you think of the event, watching from the sidelines and seeing some of the clips surface?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good show. I thought it felt very sincere to like the ECW faithful. You know what I mean? I feel like it felt authentic to the ECW faithful, so I thought they would enjoy it.
The event
I want to say too, sorry to cut you off, but I want to say there was like maybe a Mike Awesome and Tanaka match.
Yes.
On the show, right? And there were like a bunch of unprotected chair shots back to back.
It was brutal. It was a brutal match. It's a great match, but it's a brutal match. Yes.
Which I just remember felt that was very much unlike WWE at that time. This is when they kind of told people to stop doing headshots. So I understand where you say it was brutal and people didn't like it, but it was one of those things that it made it feel very different. I do remember that vibe. I remember that specifically.
Yeah, I think this was probably a little before that because Benoit is on the show here. But in the first match, oh my goodness, Lance Storm lays the most vicious chair shot on Chris Jericho too. It's brutal. So, but that show it felt so different. That whole show, it did.
It was one of those things like that. There was a real big deal where I know there was a time where they said like if you're down and you don't kick out, the referee better count 3, and that was like a big edict that happened. And there was a time too where they said probably 2004ish, maybe 2005ish, where they started wanting to cut back on unprotected chair shots. Gotcha. And they wanted them to mean something. That was before they totally cut them all out. Gotcha. But that had been talked about and it had been addressed. And like with tag wrestling, they wanted to make sure, there were a lot of things that they were very strict about, that they were trying to, put these edicts down. And I remember watching the ECW pay-per-view and I was like, whoa, they certainly didn't have any of the edicts going down in this. It was balls to the wall.
They certainly didn't. It's so successful. They run a second one the next year. And it comes in conjunction with the rebirth of ECW. It's going to be WWE's 3rd brand, a 3rd television show. And it's going to launch in the summer of 2006. How did the locker room feel on the surface before the show launched about the idea of ECW becoming a thing and the roster expanding?
I don't think anyone really overly thought about it. I would say probably some of the guys may have said like, oh man, like if they pull me, if they were in a smaller spot or a lower spot on a Raw or SmackDown, they may have said like, I don't want to get pulled off my spot and put on ECW just because they're running smaller buildings. And they were running smaller venues whenever they were doing house shows and whatnot, because they thought that would affect their pay, obviously. So that there was probably some of that there. But I mean, I think too, in some ways, people were like hoping it could be successful and it could be another brand, which means more opportunity to get TV time.
How did you feel about it personally?
I was cool with it. I was fine with it. I mean, I felt pretty good about my spot and everything I was doing and what was going on. And, like I thought ECW was such a unique thing. Like I feel like without an ECW, I don't know if you evolved into the Attitude Era as it currently was. ECW was heavily influential on that. So I have a lot of love, and I look back, with a lot of nostalgia at a lot of the ECW stuff still now. And they were trendsetters, man. Paul Heyman, brilliant dude. And the way he could motivate a locker room to go out there and go nuts. And he was also a very forward-thinking promoter and booker, and he understood how to do stuff that would make people get emotionally invested in things. He's always been great at that. But I thought it would be interesting to see, especially if you do legitimately get a Paul Heyman involved in it, and he has a pretty good say in creative and whatnot.
Well, all that optimism aside, the show launches in the summer of 2006. And needless to say, Matt Hardy, it is not entirely what fans were expecting when you put ECW into the equation. Because on the very first episode in Trenton, New Jersey,
Zombie,
in the very arena that I stood at a podium addressing my high school classmates where I graduated, the Zombie makes his way to the ring to be Singapore caned by the Sandman. It's a tie-in with the Sci-Fi Network at the time. And right away, Matt Hardy, it felt like this ECW experiment wasn't exactly going to be what fans had been accustomed to prior. When did the alarms start going off for some of the talent that this ECW show isn't exactly your mom and pa's ECW?
No, it was not a throwback to the original. And I mean that is such a Vince thing. And I see this dude's like, well, we use a zombie. And then it's going to piss people off because it's not like the original ECW where they did all this hardcore, balls to the wall violence. And, then they had all these bangers and whatnot. He said, we'll send a zombie out there. And then Sandman comes and beats the shit out of him. And that'll make people go walk the Sandman. I mean, I get his, what he's thinking from his world. I think people wanted to be more similar to the original ECW in kind of that mindset in most ways.
Well, it fucking sucked. So that was the end of that. And the show begins to tank almost immediately. I mean, within weeks. And it gets hit with all these just Murphy's Law situations. RVD and Sabu get pulled over. They end up getting in trouble with the law. RVD, after having this great chase to win the WWE Championship and the ECW Championship, is stripped of the titles, losing it to the Big Show, getting screwed by Paul Heyman. It's just snake bitten almost right away. And ECW becomes the land of the outcasts. And almost within months, Matt, you can see that Vince's fingertips are more and more and more involved with the ECW product. Enter a few names like Hardcore Holly, Test, Bobby Lashley. Did Vince just decide this was going to be the platform to try to give those guys new life?
I think so. I think that was his mentality, or he thought those guys had enough reputation as stars that they could get on there and maybe help carry the product. That would have been my guess. I just want to ask too, John, what did the first ECW show do? And how fast did it drop? Do you know? Do you have the info?
Viewership? I can try to look it up real quick here. But it changed so radically quickly. ECW Sci-Fi Premiere 2006 viewership. Let's see what the number did.
Because I do know when it started, they tried to
1.07 million viewers in the 18 to 34, which was a record for the channel for a series premiere in the demo.
It hit 1 mil
in the demo.
Oh, okay. In the demo.
Yeah, it's 1 million in the demo.
So the viewers, does have the viewership
It
there?
it was 1.8 million new viewers to the Sci-Fi Channel. I'm trying to find the overall viewership here. Let's see.
That's fine. It's fine.
By all accounts, it was a successful premiere.
Sure. I'm very curious of how quick that stuff dropped.
Almost immediately, within a couple months, the show tanked.
Tanked is what did it get down to? Do you know what their lower number was?
Let's see.
I'm curious if we can, just look this up. Because I do remember how, they had those ECW guys, man, and I hated that for RVD too, man. Whenever that deal with him and Sabu, and he did have that great run for the title and then winning it and whatnot. That was such a cool deal. And for him to get in trouble for what he got in trouble for, once again, just such an ECW thing. Like, this is the WWB, like that stuff doesn't necessarily fly.
Here we go. So at the time, the first episode of ECW draws a 3.05. Then, or this might be, sorry, this is a very antiquated graph here. I think this is average in millions rather, sorry. So it looks like they had over 3 million viewers in general for the, I'm sorry, this is a very old graph. This is like a 2006 internet graph here. I'm trying to read it. Okay, so it does a 305 share total, not viewership. It does a 305 share. And by November 13th, or I actually, better yet, I'll go to the week of this show. It is down to a 0.9. So it does a 305 and it goes down to a 0.9 by December.
So that's the demo.
That's overall viewership. Viewership. So we're talking substantial drops, like almost your entire audience. The show tanked. So that puts them in precarious positioning where Vince McMahon is trying to find new things to do, yet somehow he believes that one of the ways we're going to invigorate some life into this is with a pay-per-view. And on December 3rd, 2006, in front of 4,800 fans in Augusta, Georgia at the James Brown Arena, ECW presents its first and only WWE branded pay-per-view, December to Dismember. The show does 55,000 domestic buys, which is the lowest buy rate in WWE history prior to the WWE Network launching. It is a low-attended show for that era. And one thing to keep in mind, Matt, these shows at the time are running about $40 to $50 on pay-per-view. So if you wanted to pay for the ECW pay-per-view, the SmackDown pay-per-view, and the Raw pay-per-view in that month span, you're dropping like $120 on 3 shows right there. That's a lot.
It is, yeah. They were, I feel like WWE have always felt like if they do those extra pay-per-views they're like, okay, well, if they're diehard fans, they're going to do all they can. They're going to try and see all this content. But, they have to produce on their end, too.
So the Hardys have reunited in the summer of 2006. We've covered this on the podcast, extremehardy.com. And you guys are trying to build your equity back up as a tag team in the division. Another hot tag team at the time is M&M. They're working mostly on SmackDown at the time. Somehow, some way, you guys become intermingled in the weeks leading up to this pay-per-view.
Well, of course, Vince said, damn it, they're Team Xtreme. This Extreme Championship Wrestling wouldn't even be around if it wasn't for Team Xtreme. They started all this nonsense.
That's what I was going to ask you. How does this all come about? How do the Hardys get rebranded for one night as Team Xtreme and end up wrestling on an ECW pay-per-view?
They were looking for people that would equal buys. That's basically what was going on. They were hoping a Hardys and M&M match, because we'd had a bunch of good matches, especially on the road, and they thought that would be a great match on the show that hopefully people would be willing to buy the pay-per-view for.
Were you guys very clear on that? Like, was that a transparent thing that they just outright told you?
I mean, I think so. I mean, they'll tell you like, "Hey, we're gonna book you for this. We think you could help the show out, so do it." I mean, that's what they told Bray and I. Like, "Hey, we're gonna book you and Wyndham on the 205 Live tour because the ticket sales are a little soft, and we think having something that is like an important program on it, and you guys main event it, and it'll be cool to help sell tickets."
Okay.
We were specifically told that.
And
whenever
you're totally good with working this show. There's no hesitance from you guys to work the show.
I mean, I'm an employee. I'm a contracted guy. I do what I'm told.
Okay, all right. Did you have any idea of the shit show that you guys would be walking into that night?
No, I mean, I know the show didn't get reviews or whatever else, but like, I guess there was a lot of chaos. I remember like late in the night, and I think we were cutting out early because we were going to start driving on to the next town, and I knew it got really chaotic with all the Paul Heyman Vince stuff.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes here. Let's not waste any more time. I want to watch this match back. You ready to do it?
Sure, let's watch.
Okay, Matt Hardy, we are watching back the Team Xtreme, I say that lightly, in quotations here rather, versus M&M match on December 2006. Cue up the cock, pull it up. We can only say that for like another year because I totally expect them to move that over to Netflix. So be ready. If you are international, next year you'll be able to add that to Netflix. And we're going to watch December to Dismember. The bell is about to ring. Scott Armstrong is our referee. Are you ready, Matt?
I am ready.
Okay, so picture this. I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I get on a plane at 5:30 in the morning. I drive from Charlotte, North Carolina to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I spend an entire day at a wrestling convention. I do a live show with Matt Hardy. I drive back from Winston-Salem to Charlotte. I stay overnight in an airport. I sit on a tarmac for 3 hours, and then I finally get home after a 20-minute Uber ride. How do you think I'm smelling after that? Well, quite frankly, I don't care to know what anyone else thought of me because I would have been in a much better position had I had my Mando products with me. Mando is a whole body deodorant product that is safe to use anywhere on your body. I'm talking your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt cracks, your feet, wherever you want to use them. It's safe 100% of the way to use. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal body odor was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So Mando products are clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. You can try their solid deodorant stick, which is formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts, or maybe even their spray deodorant, which is aluminum-free and ideal for hard-to-reach places. All their products are baking soda-free, and they're also paraben-free. You can choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, so you're smelling classy like Ron Burgundy, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or even Pro Sport. And Mando products are clinically proven to control body odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. Well, with Mando, the average grundle odor level, a 0 out of 10. You cannot beat that. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash or my personal favorite, the deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to more than 40% off your starter pack for the holidays. How about that? Use code HARDY at shopmando.com to take advantage of this offer. That's shopmando.com, code HARDY, HARDY. Please support our show and tell them the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. And we're going to start in 3, 2, 1. All right. Look at you. Wow, we're pulling off the shirt early here, Matt.
Yeah, it is a little early.
People got to pay for that.
All right. Usually you can use that usually elicits a good pop. I must have been feeling myself right here, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and take the shirt off right from the jump.
Referee Scott Armstrong, I believe that's Joey Mercury that's going to start this one out for M&M.
It is, yeah.
Little Omega matchup here. It
is. You have 2 Omega originals in there. Joy was a really, really talented wrestling mod too. Like, it's a shame he kind of ended up going down a dark road, and not sure how he is right now. Hopefully he's good, but like he had such a great potential, and he had such an amazing mind for like a wrestling producer, wrestling coach.
Is that fun to get a chance to work with one of the Omega guys on a stage
Yeah,
like this?
it is. I actually got him booked as an extra in Raleigh, and then I got him to work in my match against him and gave him a lot of offense. And that's one of the matches that really got people talking about him, and quickly got him on the map. And he ended up doing OVW and kind of developing this M&M team.
What'd you think of the M&M package?
I liked it. It was really unique. And they really leaned into the thing real good. Like they were big stars walking the red carpet every single night,
Yeah, I thought Mulaney was a really big part of that package too, and it was a good act all around. And we got a little brouhaha here.
There we go. Yeah.
Johnny Nitro.
Yeah, Melina really added. She added a lot to the team on top of being a solid, great worker herself. But she was very good with her cues, like her facial expressions, and she was like totally committed to the bit. So she was super beneficial to both Johnny and Joy.
Let me ask about Scott Armstrong.
Yeah,
I don't think we've ever really talked about Scott Armstrong on the show.
I love some Scott Armstrong.
What's the hashtag hard body ref he used to call himself?
Well, he never, once a wrestler and you kind of get in the groove of training, then you kind of always live that, and he always did. He'd be one of the guys that was up early, going to the gym every single morning before TV and before whatever else. When we're on the road, we'd always catch him in the gym, and he even though he was reffing, he never let go of that staying in shape like a wrestler.
You enjoy working with him in matches? I
did. He was super professional, super great, and he's been a wrestler, a member obviously of the Armstrong family. So he is built for this. He's great.
Does it help when the refs have ring experience?
Yes, it does help. It makes them much more aware of what they're doing, and that they can assist the wrestlers in the ring as well more.
Bringing in Johnny Nitro here.
Here we go to, once again, Johnny Nitro, Johnny TV, John Morrison, John Hennigan, whatever you call him. Just what a phenomenal athlete he is. Like a guy who's just so gifted athletically. It's incredible.
Great look.
Yeah, he has a great look. There we go. There's a little unique tag team move that we didn't do a lot. And I had to bring that one back, though. I have to write that down, chalk that up. I liked it.
Jeff almost wiped out on that. I'm glad he was okay there. Here we go. Double Irish whip. Vintage Hardys.
Double. Oh, here we go. Do you know this move, John?
Oh, yeah. Love this.
Do you know what this is called?
Oh.
The spin cycle.
The spin cycle.
The good old spin cycle.
Christian was always good at taking that.
Yeah, that's a good little spot for him. Anytime he's taking a bump, that's a good little spot for Christian.
I was going to say, generally speaking.
Yeah, indeed.
Especially if you can't see his face.
Oh, there's Jeff's unique where he does like 2 or 3 pumps. His jawbreaker. That's a
good counter there on the jawbreaker.
Yeah, it's that one's been done a few 100 times. It happens once in a while. They'll get him.
Getting into some heat here. I mean, what's the mentality here, Matt? Like, are you going into this because you guys don't really have too much of a program? You're not on the ECW show on TV every week. I mean, these are WWE fans generally who are watching the programs every week. But like, are you attacking this from going out and putting on kind of a fun house show structure match? What's the idea?
We were having a good solid match here, and I would almost imagine this is just a point where I don't even remember this match. I would imagine maybe they stop Jeff just for a moment, and then he escapes and gets back out, or either I come in like a hot tag to a degree, and then they shut me down. But yeah, I could tell that wasn't the heat because we didn't have any major exclamation point to really emphasize the point.
Just based on the pacing already, you could tell this is going to be a little bit of a longer match too.
Yeah. I guess so, especially considered to nowadays. I mean, I feel like we're working a pretty normal pace.
Well, I was going to say, because like you're not getting into the heat too early here. So I'm saying by that standard, oh, that looked great. By that standard, you know, we're pacing ourselves and waiting a little bit because this is one of the longest matches on the card.
Yeah.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
There was a little Melina interference.
I mean, you wouldn't put your hands on a lady like that.
I don't know. If I'm in the moment and I get too mad, who knows?
Oh, no.
Anything could happen.
You get cut off. Bumping
No,
on the outside.
I would imagine this is the heat. I don't
Yeah.
remember exactly, but I would imagine.
I would too. Ooh.
Especially too, just because when I was stopped, it was like a significant, memorable moment.
Good positioning all around there too, right in front of the hard cam.
And I think it's one that, especially like when you have a lot of time, I like doing things in the match now more than ever. Like it might be some time where we have a long ass match where we have plenty of time, and we might do something that seems like it's going home real quick. Come back, and then like all of a sudden, like whoa, and then like the babyface misses something big or whatever. Like I love adjusting the formula of like how the match goes.
Yeah.
You just need to get to some certain point where, you know, the bad guy, especially if you have a rivalry, which is a typical bad guy versus a good guy, where you need to put sympathy on these guys and you want to see them reach out and make that tag. I remember Steve Austin one time told me about a hot tag, and I've probably shared this on here before, but it was one of the best. Yeah, she lost her code. Her code got cut off. We'll keep that thought in mind. Look at these two hills right here, doubling up. There you go, baby. All right, go watch. So Stone Cold Steve Austin told me one time. He said, "Hey," he said, I've been watching all your matches. This was on the road, and he said, "Hey, I was thinking about if you come in and do that comeback, Jack. You know your brother sells your ass off." He said, "If you come in," he said, "would you feel better about throwing clotheslines than punches?" And I said, "I mean, I could." I said, I'm fine with you." I said, "I throw a pretty decent punch." He said, "Well, the only thing I think about a clothesline," he said, "it looks a lot more vicious and malicious." He said, "If you go down and all the way through with a guy." And I said, "Well, guys do clotheslines a lot, so sometimes I try and switch up." He said, and this is from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Said, "You really don't make a shit what you do those first 3, 4, or 5 bumps. If you clothesline them, you elbow them, whatever, you're just like getting them down and you're building up to actually doing your shit, whatever your signature shit is." Like people overthink that a lot. Like, it's so what? It's a clothesline. Everybody does these clotheslines or whatever else. The match is going to change whenever you start doing your own signature stuff and you put the orders of things together in different sequences and whatnot. And that's what makes matches different. He said, so don't worry about those little things. You just need that heel bumping as fast as you can possibly bump. Boom, 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 just to get the crowd rallying to get into your signature stuff. And that was a great piece of advice that Stone Cold gave me that always stuck with me.
It's almost like he knew what he was doing.
And he's right. I mean, you look at anybody. I know there's times where, Brett would say like, this guy, wasn't so good because he would do the same moves every single time. I mean, but Brett would do the same moves, every single time in his comeback.
Wait a minute here, Matt. This is heinous.
There you have it. Nothing.
Poetry and motion.
Nothing's sacred anymore. And that's what it is. Jeff Hardy, one of the greatest baby faces ever. I mean, it's still his comeback. You kind of know what he's going to do. He's going to do the same similar moves. And I mean, once in a while you have something different thrown in, but it is what it is. You don't need to overthink that too much. Like people do overthink stuff a little bit. And there's been a couple of the younger guys we've worked with in TNA, and I've told them, I don't know, sometimes if you're working with Jeff, just maybe don't do too many of these combos. Boom, boom, back, forth. He has to do this. You have to be on the knee. You have to do that. Just like kind of go straight forward. I promise his reaction will be there, and it will elicit just doing something simpler. And that and a lot of those guys have started listening to that too.
Of course. I mean, and again, like you said, his moveset almost speaks for itself. I mean, just see the hot tag here.
Yeah.
What it's doing. Broken up. Do me a favor and refresh for me. I'm going to keep watching here. You just froze up. Matt's having some issues in the boondocks of North Carolina this weekend as we tape this. So the weather has not been all too great down there. There we go.
There we are.
I'll tell you one thing I noticed, Matt. Melina's facials have been so great in this match.
She was such a Her facials were so good. She was such an expressive manager. It was tremendous. That's the one little clip I put back when I put, X amount of years, years ago, says the net. It was this clip. Look at this guy just jumping out. Super athlete.
Yeah, like right there, camera cut away to Melena.
Sure.
She knows the camera's on her at all times.
Yep.
And just perfect splash from Brother Nero. That's a fun little wipeout spot, a little quadruple down, if you will.
Yeah, there we go. We got the crowd. The crowd was really good for this too. I do remember this because I drove this loop. So I remember this very specifically because I'd driven from home this morning.
Who were you traveling with? Just Jeff?
Just me, I think. I think Jeff may have flown it.
Oh, okay.
I think I was solo on this one.
Now we got poetry and motion from you guys, a little payback.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, this is a fun match. There's nothing like super extreme about it, but it's great. This is perfect.
This is what wrestling is. This is pro wrestling,
Ooh. No water in the pool for Brother Nero.
Just solid and good pro wrestling.
Yeah.
If you guys get the opportunity to go back and check out our match, and they'll probably post it on YouTube because they're just trying to get all the content out there so much. Our TNA match, which is on tonight. It's myself and Jeff versus the System. Eddie Edwards, who is absolutely tremendous, and Brian Myers, who's so great in his role too. Both those guys are great. But we have an amazing, really, really good wrestling match, which builds up to the table match we're having next Friday at the pay-per-view. So if you get a chance to watch that match back, it's great. I love the fact that they got on my leg during the match and they stayed on my leg, and it was very fun being in the ring with those guys doing that as well. So it was a good throwback to old school stuff in a lot of ways, but it was a great wrestling match, and I loved it a lot. I really enjoyed it.
How's your leg feeling? All right, you get past the post-match woes.
Yeah, it's recuperating. It's getting back. It's a Jimmy leg, so it's a Jimmy leg. So you just break it off and put it on sideways.
It's those cold plunges.
Yes, they're working out. There we go.
Which apparently Ali's a big fan of.
He is. Yeah.
Him this past weekend. Brian Myers, big SNY fan.
Yes, he is. He's a big SNY fan. He's a big John Alba fan.
There's like two big John Alba fans in wrestling, you and Brian Myers. So that's good. That works out for me.
Yeah, Ali, I'm the one who told him. I said, dude, you should do these cold plunges, man. He's hooked. We have him addicted. It's the new Broken Universe addiction.
Oh goodness!
And look at this. We're even like to doing a double heat now. Where I love the fact that we did that heat because this actually seems like
each of you were getting one.
Yeah, they just like stopped Jeff for a second early, and I came in like a little pseudo comeback. We're going home, and then they get the heat on me, and now Jeff does a big comeback, and now it's like they're getting the actual heat on Jeff is what it looks like.
You don't really see that in too many tag matches with you guys. Is that something you would do on longer matches, like house shows and stuff like that?
All the time. I mean, that's something we still do pretty regularly. Like if we have a bunch of time to kill, we'll do a double heat.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like a little teaser too, because we saw Jeff wipe out on the Swanton earlier, so from a storytelling perspective, a natural beat would be for you guys to win the match with the Swanton and him connecting. So let's see how this match ends. But, there
we go.
Vicious offense from Elena and Brother Nero.
She was a mood. She always was a mood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're familiar with that. You know what that's like.
I am. Like turn up the volume.
Cut from a similar cloth, those two.
Oh boy.
Cover. But they were a good act together, Eminem, and
they were a great act together, yeah.
And the fact that they could back up their act with their ring work really made them very endearing to a lot of fans at the time. I honestly think they probably weren't together long enough. I understand why they weren't. I know Vince probably saw a lot in Johnny Nitro and he wanted to do something with him, but they probably didn't have as long of a run as a tag team as they could have had.
Right. You're right. I mean, Johnny Nitro did do his thing, and he was a great athlete. And once again, he, just physically, he looks very unique from a physical aspect, and that's Vince's dream. He just loved guys that had great builds. You could see their abs. They look like a big body guy, big muscle guy, and then on top of that, he was this great athlete that could do anything. I think if anything, his weakness was just like probably his ability to actually be like a fundamentally strong wrestler. That's probably what he was learning on the fly more than anything else.
And a lot of those athletes can kind of cover up for some of those shortcomings too.
Yes, they can.
Just by being so good as an athlete.
This is once again Joy just through and through, just a great old school worker, got it, understand like getting heat, how to like slow down the baby face, how to do things to get booed and not get the crowd to cheer you. And that's a lost art nowadays. He was so good at it.
Hugo Savinovich freaking out in the background too.
Big shout out to Hugo. Got lots and lots of love for Hugo.
Oh, man, I love them so much. I got a chance to interview them. Want to say right before Ric Flair's last match, and I got to hang out with them at Ric Flair's last match, and it was awesome.
Yeah,
they were great.
Good dudes.
Here we go. Coming here. Yep, there it is, dropping you down. Oh, a little fight back from you. Okay. Yep. Okay. He was able to cut off the tag.
Right.
And as a result, Johnny Nitro cuts off the ring.
That actually, I like that. And too, one thing I'm not a big advocate of, and sometimes I even buzz people, if you're working against them, just to make sure they know, is like you have to be careful about your baby face, like pulling them off the apron or knocking them down too many times. Like, because you can't make that baby face look stupid. It's very important. Like the fact that I would have even loved that if I would have saw him like grab my foot and turn around and kicked him with the other foot and then kind of like lost my balance and got off and had to fight him or whatever to actually get the tag. Just protecting myself in a smart way. And that's something that I challenge people in the business as a baby face, especially if you're in that kind of scenario, to think through and try and find ways to do it that make you look as intelligent as possible. Did we lose the feed?
No, we're good. There we go. Hot tag.
There we go.
Here comes Matt Hardy steamrolling. Let me ask you this. Do you think you're better at taking the heat and tagging out for the hot tag, or do you think you're better at taking the hot tag?
I mean, Jeff gets more sympathy. People are more sympathetic towards Jeff, and I think they would root for him a little more. But I also think I am good at it as well. This match I was talking about with the system, they like worked over my leg, and it was cool that I got to like sell a leg in an appropriate way in the match that is going down tonight as we tape this. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it works good either way. In all honesty, whenever Jeff is in there selling, it's always good. It's great when Jeff makes the comeback to it because there's always a good pop, and I feel very confident with my selling, especially nowadays. Just I know a lot of little tricks and whatnot, but either way, it's okay. It's interchangeable, really.
Because I've noticed from watching a lot of these matches, I think if you were to ask me on the surface without watching them, I'd probably be like, yeah, Jeff's the one making, the comeback and taking the hot tag. But it really, the majority of them is the other way around, where Jeff is the one doing a majority of the selling.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, there we go. We were going for that move, the rapture that we had been doing around this time, which is where I set the guy up there and Jeff would jump off and I give him a neck breaker and he power bombs him down, but then they obviously stopped it. We'd done that match on TV a couple of times. We actually won a match with it. What
made you guys stop doing that?
We were talking about doing it the other day, and Jeff was worried he couldn't land on his spine like that, sitting down on the ground. So that's why. Just staying healthy, being smart.
Heaven forbid.
That's what it's all about.
Oh boy. Double superplex. Break that down for me. How does that work? Are you guys like, do you have an internal count on when to go? Is someone counting it down out loud? How's that go?
A trick that I've used, I don't remember if we did it here or not. I'll tell the referee to like do a double count, and then I'll say like, once we both get up there, and if he says you got to get down, you got 5 seconds. He's like 1, 2, 3. I said just go on 3.
Oh, okay,
if
that's
he's
smart.
doing it real loud. I mean, I've done that in the past, and that way nobody's talking to anybody. But I don't know if I did it on this particular occasion.
Ooh, Melina taking a big bump off the apron from an errant drop kick.
Yeah, that was a great kick out.
Yeah,
Great
crowd was very
faucet.
hot. That was great. Man, I'd say it all. And that looks so good too. 1, 2. Matt Hardy makes the save. Well, I was just gonna say real quick, there really is nothing like a hot tag team match to open a card.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had lots and lots of love for tag team matches. So yeah, I agree. I think a hot tag team match is a great way to start the card, and it really sets the pace for the whole show.
I loved when Black and Gold NXT, all their pay-per-views would start with a hot tag team match. It was very much cut out like this.
Uh-oh, here we go. Looking for double superplex. This has actually been a hell of a match. I think this match has been
very
great.
good match. Very good match.
They're trying to elevate the snapshot to the highest level. What are these kids nowadays called? The avalanche snapshot?
And anything that's off the middle rope or higher is an avalanche move.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you're stacking them on top of each other.
They're stacked up like cordwood.
Oh, was that a crouton?
Yeah, that was in there. They felt it. They definitely felt it.
1, 2, Hardys win.
There we go. They love us in Georgia.
Yeah, I mean you're over. No Team Xtreme. No doubt about that, Matt. They loved them some Hardys there. I thought that was a super fun match to watch back there. What do you think?
I thought that was great. I mean, I thought that was a great match. That's as good as it gets to get a tag team match kicking off the show, and you don't want it to be, you don't want it to supersede or like overshadow the main event. So that was a great match. Go out, kick ass, do a lot of cool stuff, have a lot of real innovative false finishes, and get some momentum on the show starting right from the jump.
So now that you're out of the way, you got your match out of the way, it goes well. Gothic Baby runs in at the most opportune times. You have to.
Yeah, what's up?
We got Whole House Hardy running. Okay, we got Wolfie.
Wolfie. Wolfie you were supposed to meet John for the very first time at WrestleCade, and then Mama quarantined you, and she wanted you to go on the Polar Express. So he's upset he didn't get to meet you. Are you going to meet him one day, Wolfie?
Yeah, I will. I'll be back to call you.
Okay, see you later.
Yeah.
They got personalities. There's no doubt about that. So you guys get out of the way. You said before that you were trying to get on the road early.
Yeah.
What's the sentiment of the locker room backstage as this show is starting to unfold here?
We heard there was a big dust up between Paul Heyman and Vince, and people were like, oh my God, let's find out what happened, the details, whatever else. And I guess as the show was going on, there was big arguments, and I guess the show, as it was going down, Vince wasn't happy with it, and it seems like Paul Heyman was going to end up taking this bullet. So we just knew there was a bunch of disagreement, and there had always been a lot of tension between VKM and Paul Heyman, and I think a lot of that just comes from professional pride. Both of them, Vince sees himself as the greatest promoter, and I'm sure Paul Heyman sees himself as like a breakthrough promoter, and what he did with ECW and how he created a special niche of wrestling and whatnot, and kind of changed the business by launching ECW. So I feel like there was probably a little, personal pride on the matter as well. And then, Vince made him eat the bullet for this show not being good, even though Vince at the end of the day had final say so over everything.
And what Matt's referring to is the main event, which is an Extreme Elimination Chamber match, is between the champion Big Show, Test, Rob Van Dam, Hardcore Holly, who takes out Sabu, CM Punk, and Bobby Lashley. And the famous story is that Paul Heyman wanted CM Punk to be the face of the brand, and he was going to have him tap out the Big Show immediately and go on to win the Elimination Chamber. But Bobby Lashley was the guy that Vince was positioning all together. So what ends up happening is Vince wins out, Bobby Lashley wins out, CM Punk gets eliminated first, and Paul Heyman gets fired and sent home, essentially, and then fired. It's crazy, Matt, because realistically, you can trace this night to today's product, where we just saw CM Punk and Paul Heyman reunite, because that bond was forged by this very famous wrestling story that Punk more or less mentioned in his pipe bomb promo. How crazy is that?
Sure, yeah. Punk is a big Paul Heyman guy, you know what I mean? And Paul Heyman is a big Punk guy, no doubt about it. He had been from the beginning. Punk, I know, credits Paul Heyman a lot for getting him on the main roster and doing ECW and whatnot. He gives him a lot of credit for a lot of his early success. I'm positive. So, yeah, it is crazy that you look back and you look at the story of Paul Heyman being sent home and then being fired. And, you know, now he does the stuff with Brock, which was so legendary. And then he ends up being with the Bloodline, and him and Roman are, you know, they're really connected. And then Punk comes back and, you know, he said he was my wise man before he was yours. And, you know, there's a lot of truth to that. Long-term storytelling is a real deal in WWE.
This show goes off the air almost an hour early. The fans are booing. It is looked back on as a total disaster of a pay-per-view. As a final exercise before we wrap, Matt, I'm going to go through each person on this card. And you're going to tell me whether they were extreme or not extreme, as someone who is a member of Team Xtreme, okay?
Real quick, before we do that, I feel like this is very reminiscent of CM Punk eating the muffins, right? Wolfie's back here eating the pumpkin pies.
I'm working with fucking children here. Anyway.
I am working with children, brother. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask you if they're extreme or not extreme. Okay.
Yep.
There we go. On the dark match that opened up the show before you guys, we had Stevie Richards, extreme or not extreme?
Extreme.
Okay. He defeated Rene Dupree.
Not extreme.
Not extreme. Rene Dupree, huge fan of the Emmy. I worked an indie show with him, and he made me take a picture of him holding it so he could have a picture of it. How about that? All right.
Man.
The Hardys.
Extreme.
Eminem.
Extreme.
Okay. All right. Matt Stryker.
Extreme.
Really?
Yeah, if you knew him personally, you would definitely classify him as extreme.
All right. Balls Mahoney.
Extreme.
Very extreme. The FBI, which of course is Little Guido or Nunzio and Tony Mamaluke.
Extreme.
Very much so. Elijah Burke. The Pope.
Not so extreme.
Okay. Sylvester Turkai.
Not so extreme.
Sylvester Turkai is someone I would really like to ask you about one day, but we'll move on from that one. Tommy Dreamer.
Extreme.
Davari.
He has the potential to be extreme.
Okay. All right. And Davari was accompanied by none other than the great Khali, who you got to hang out with this weekend.
I did. I don't think I would classify him as extreme.
He was stoked to see you, though.
Yeah, it was. He was real. We caught up. We always get along good. He loved that when we teamed. He wanted to be renamed the Great Hardy at one point.
Kevin Thorne, the former Mordecai.
I don't know if Kevin Thorne was necessarily extreme. Some of the stuff that Mordecai did with his with Ariel, they were a bit extreme. They could fit into an extreme category.
Well, yeah. So what about Ariel?
I said, yeah, they would fit together as an extreme when he was doing the whole vampire bit with Ariel.
Okay. Mike Knox.
Ooh. My answer, I think, would be the same as Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam 2000 at Survivor Series 2006. Probably be a no.
Okay.
It'd be like, who?
Kelly.
I
You know
guess.
what? I don't want to get you in trouble. Let's keep going here. Your
Thank
boy,
you.
Andrew Martin, Test.
Not Extreme.
Okay. All right. CM Punk.
He could be. I'd classify him as Extreme.
Okay. Hardcore Holly.
I would classify him as Extreme.
The Big Show.
He's more of an attraction like Holly.
Okay. Rob Van Dam.
Extreme.
And lastly, Bobby Lashley.
Bobby could be if they needed him to be, but I do not think he was Extreme. He was just a champion.
The point of this,
he was just a champion.
The point of this, there's a lot of not very extreme on this Extreme Championship Wrestling show. So maybe that is why ECW was not long for this world in this iteration. Oh boy. Anything else you want to add here, Matt Hardy?
No, that was fun to watch that match back though. I really enjoyed it. There's a couple things in there I might have to look back at and try and integrate into our new act.
I'd like to see that as well. And we'd like to integrate you into our show. You head on over to advertisewithhardy.com, get your business, get your product out in front of thousands of listeners every single week. On the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, it was ranking in a ton of people's Spotify Wrapped. So why wouldn't you want to get your product out in front of that? ExtremeHardy.com is where you find all the archives. And we have so many great shows ahead in 2025. I cannot wait to see you this week, my friend. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm so excited for everyone to find out what we're doing. And it's going to be a great time. Anything you'd like to say as we bid farewell here?
No, man. It has been. It's been a fun little episode. I enjoyed doing it. And once again, as we said earlier on, we greatly appreciate everyone who tunes in every single week to the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy and will listen to myself and John talk wrestling, talk live, talk shop, whatever it may be. And thank you, Philip. I see enjoyable show. I want to give you a shout out on that. Yeah, we have fun doing this. And when it comes to Matt and Jeff, we have this match with the System coming up at the pay-per-view, and it is a tables match. And we are going into this with the same mentality that we had at Royal Rumble 2000 with the Dudleys. Ooh. We're going in there to go nuts. And just for the record, Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardys, the Hardy Boys, Team Extreme, we are so fucking back.
Oh, boy, howdy. The words have been spoken. We'll be so fucking back next week right here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Die!
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. Do the holidays have you feeling stressed? SaveWithConrad.com can help you pay off all of your high interest rate credit cards and get a cheaper monthly payment. We're routinely helping listeners save over $1,000 a month, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. That's right, no payments until February. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, and it just takes about 10 minutes to get started. So don't put Christmas on a credit card. Start saving today and make this the best Christmas ever at SaveWithConrad.com.